right, everybody, welcome back to Client Side Chats. Gotta tell you, we have special guest Steve McCartha. Hey, Steve, what are you? The proprietor of True Legacy Pacific Employers, correct?
Yeah, yep. Still doing the consulting on I think the consulting's more on the side now, HR with all the COVID and everything else going on. So HR is definitely taking a front seat over consulting, but yeah, still
Yeah.
still knocking both out.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So, Steve, tell us a little bit about what your company does and a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get
Yeah,
into our question that we always look forward to doing, having a chat with you on.
awesome. Yeah, no, I appreciate you doing these, James. My name's Steve McCartha. I'm the owner, like James said, of True Legacy Consulting and Pacific Employers. True Legacy Consulting is a culture first consulting group. We deal with analytics and people, product, and process, but ultimately it comes down into culture. And we spent so much time in culture and people that we decided to build an HR company and then ended up purchasing Pacific Employers 2 years ago. Pacific Employers is an HR consulting firm that more labor law consulting, HR, so primarily laws, regulatory policies, procedures, that kind of stuff. But I think the culture with the consulting and then laws, regulatories, wage and hour, everything that keeps us out of trouble was a good move. So we do both.
Definitely, I know. And that's how we met actually was through your consulting firm, the one with the culture, so the true legacy part of it. So, but it's been great, working with you over the years and also being part of it and hearing and watching your growth and all the successes you've had, which is leading to the question, which is, what is a good success you've had? You want to share any of them? Because I know you've had several, but what would you say is a good success that you've had? Is it, what defines it? How did you measure it? What was the
Yeah.
outcome?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. It's funny you ask that. I always ask whoever I'm playing golf with. I do play a lot of golf, but whoever I'm playing golf with, I always ask them, what are you most proud about? And so I'm going to kind of look at it from that. The thing I'm most proud about is my relationships with people. I think that that's my greatest success internally. Whether that's my family, my friends, my relationship with Christ, it's all based on relationships. And so I would say relationships are probably my greatest success. But my greatest success story is probably my first one. Um,
Ah,
I was, I just gotten out of the military. I did 10 years in the United States Air Force. I was taking 9 to 5 jobs or 8 to 5 jobs, whatever you want to call them, as sales. That's kind of what I was into. And I kept hitting brick walls and companies were laying off. And I felt like I never had any control, even though, I did the best I could. So when I started going back to school, or I determined that going back to school was going to be the best option for me to kind of go off on my own. So I was going to Fresno Pacific in Visalia. And so they taught us about culture and diversity and leadership and all of these things. And our final project was to actually take whether it was a fictitious business or a real business, and we were to take that company and basically apply what we've learned and then do a 45-page report about it, and from financials to culture, people, product, process kind of thing.
hmm
So most of what my classmates picked a fictitious. They were picking businesses like Disneyland, or hey, how do you move the bottom line? I ended up consulting for a local company, and when I started looking, they had a lot of inefficiencies, but ultimately culture and process were really, really struggling. So I worked with them. We started having weekly meetings. We started just adding simple habits to the routine, right? Those simple habits ended up generating a lot of profit margin at the end. When we first started, we were 612,000, and in 9 months we were at 1.2 million.
Oh,
So we
wow.
had doubled the company's organization without even adding any additional service. So we went through this whole entire process, and honestly, that was when I had that aha moment that I could actually do it. At that point in time, I was going to college to be a high school counselor.
Ah.
And so I did all of my classes in psychology for my master's, and then business was kind of a secondary thing. And I just fell in love with the people end of it, of business, the people end of business, which is what most people hate. Um, and I just fell in love with it. And honestly, that I talked to my wife and I said, "Hey, what do you think about doing a consulting project, or allowing me to open up a consulting thing? It's going to be hard for the first couple of years. We're not going to make any money. We're going to live off of our savings. How does that sound?"
Oh boy.
And she's like, "Yep, that sounds great." So True Legacy was born, and I ended up hiring two of my professors to work for me. So I hadn't even completed my grad yet, and I had hired two of my professors, and we ended up picking up two or three clients within the first month or two. And
Very.
we replicated it on every single client. I think our average, when I kind of started slowing down, was like a 33.7% growth rate, give or take,
Wow.
on organizations. But we were capping. I think it's really easy to move a like sub $5 million company. It's really hard the bigger the ship is, right, to move it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But ultimately, I would say my first success is probably my biggest, just because it launched multiple companies and multiple opportunities, and now employment for other people, and both of the companies are growing. So I don't know. I think I had some doubt in myself at the beginning, and then was like, you know what, if I can do it once, I can do it again, kind of thing.
Yep.
And I love it, ultimately, at the end of the day.
Well, the important thing is this: you pulled out of this, you know why you're successful. You could replicate this, correct?
Yep. Oh,
Abs.
absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. And that's actually why I'm kind of in the acquisition business now. I'm looking for companies that are trying to sell, that are service-based companies that would, benefit the other two companies. So we're looking to hopefully purchase a payroll company coming up. If not, I'm going to launch one next year.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Great.
so yeah, yeah, like I don't have enough to do.
Yeah, right. I know. I know how
uh,
busy you are, but I know how much energy you have too. And you're very
yeah,
much
yeah.
engaged with all the relationships that you have.
Yeah, yeah. Ultimately, I think at the end of the day, if you just do what you love, I hate to say it that way, but and I think you actually said it best, is I understand my why. I believe that I generally can make a difference in this world before I die, and I'm going to give every ounce of myself into whatever I'm after at that time to build it. I will tell you though, my greatest weak point is maintaining. I
Mm.
am not. I am not the maintainer at all. So I usually partner with people that are the maintainer. So I'll build the big building. I just don't want to clean it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That's the
I don't want to
entrepreneurial
clean it.
leadership of you. So
Yeah.
that's great. That's great. Well, good, Steve. Glad to see that you're coming out of this whole COVID thing and doing a great job. I know we started chatting when everything was really kind of in a downturn, and just,
Yeah.
hey, we need to do something from our business's
Kind
standpoint,
of spark
and
it.
that worked out well. So great. All right. Thanks for being on today. Let's get you back again in the near future.
Yeah.
Always love to catch up with you and see where you're at.
Thank you so much, James. I'm going to leave everybody with this. You always find what you're looking for, just sometimes not in the time frame you're looking for it.
There you go. All right. Thanks, Steve. Have a
Thanks
good
so
one.
much,
We'll
man.
talk to you soon.
Appreciate it.